What is the third thing you want to know?
Realize so many of these are a duality.
It's okay. It's good.
I love podcast editing and writing, and I do both podcasting space, but people get confused that I do both. They want to say, oh, you're this, or this sounds so similar to the first question. How do I shape my messaging so that they don't get confused? I don't want to hide any of this.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. When you say people, you mean potential clients? Do you mean other people in the industry don't know what to refer you for? Do you mean people that are, and let's even take a step back. Where are most of your clients coming from?
Word of mouth and seeing things that questions that I answer in different group spaces, like community spaces.
Okay. Do you think clients and potential clients are confused, or do you think other people are confused?
All of the above.
Okay. Why do you think potential clients are confused?
One is I don't think they necessarily know what podcast editors do. So throwing out that I do more than that. I mean, I don't actually have the writing conversation with potential clients because I'm trying to help them figure out what they need so that we can see if we're a good match.
Okay. So let me ask you, how do you right now currently describe the specific value you provide to what specific audience?
Yeah.
And there you go.
And there we go.
That's the rub.
Okay. So
Go ahead.
I go back and forth between talking about the power of the message in what people are having in their podcasts. People get confused that I'm not talking about audio. And so I'm like, okay. And then I go back to, look, I can do this and this and get more of that granular skill stuff that they might be more familiar with and say, okay, I can do this and this to your audio and help you with video if you need to. But it's really the story that gets people into the podcasts and gets them to trust the podcasters and leads them to want to, or at least curiosity on what people are selling. When we're talking about business casters, that's where the real gold is. And something
What's the
really
best
hard.
What's the best page on your site or whatever for me to send someone?
It's probably, I have a services page with my different packages because most people's first question is how much?
Okay. All right. So here's the thing. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get clear for yourself, right? On this is the value I'm offering to these specific people. Right. So that is what you're talking about as duality. And again, you're focused on, I can do this, I can do that, I can do whatever. You know, your website right now doesn't really even, nowhere on there, I don't think, does it say that you're focused on business podcasts?
It doesn't.
Now, this is common and this gets into niche. Everybody, you're like, I can do a lot more.
Wow. Yeah.
You want to tailor your messaging to your ideal audience. I believe niche is about ideal audience, not only audience. Even if you say, I help business podcasters do X, Y, and Z, you still may get people that are not business podcasters. I get clients all the time that don't fit maybe my specific niche. Yeah. You can still work with them. But if you don't get specific, you want to be the perfect choice for someone, not an okay choice for everyone. Right?
Yeah.
So I think you want your messaging, assuming you are appealing to business podcasters, you want to be messaging them.
Okay.
And this is where I think you want the messaging along the lines of what we talked about before, where you're focused on the result you're helping them get. Just, I can do this tactic and that tactic and whatever. So it's a version of, this isn't the right language, but it's, I help business podcasters grow their audience, make sales, and get clients. Or I help business podcasters get the most out of the time they invest in podcasting.
Yeah.
The other thing to think about is you had said at one point, a lot of them don't even know what editing is or podcast writing is. I think it's worth thinking about, again, from an ideal perspective. Does your ideal client already know what editing is and they're looking for an editor? Do they not know what editing is? Does that matter?
It does to me because I hate doing launches. So for me, I want them to at least have had a podcast, to already have a podcast in process. I don't want somebody who wants to start a podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. But where is that messaging? Nowhere.
Yeah.
So you want to write down and think about, and I'll give you an example because I just recently launched a sales page for a group coaching program I'm doing called Inbox to Invoice. And it's to help people turn newsletter subscribers into paying clients. Number one, you'll notice how that's results focused. It's not, I'm going to teach you how to grow your newsletter. I'm going to teach you how to do this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
It's before or after, I'm going to teach you how to turn newsletter subscribers into paying clients. And in that sales page, I have a who it's for section. And this is what it says. It says, this program isn't for everyone. It's for you if your main goal is to acquire more clients. It's if you have an existing newsletter, you publish consistently for at least 3 months. I don't want people who are like, I'm not getting into I don't have a newsletter. How do I pick a mailing platform and all that stuff? And you have an existing service you sell and want to use your newsletter to get more people to buy it. Very specifically, that's who it's for. And then I say, it's not for you if you're just starting out, if you're focused on selling a product as opposed to a service, or you're simply trying to monetize your newsletter through advertising. Yep. It doesn't mean that what I'm offering wouldn't help those people.
Right.
But I'm very clearly going, hey, if this is you, this is who this thing is for. And when you do that, now all your messaging becomes easier because you know exactly who you're talking to. And it makes you more unique. For example, with this, there's a million courses and stuff out there about how to grow a newsletter and whatever. There really isn't one that's like how to use your newsletter to get clients.
Yep.
So I think what you ultimately want is you want to be perceived as, and again, you can figure out what it is, but the person who's the expert at maximizing what business podcasters get out of their podcast, which you'll see then aligns perfectly with your messaging of not just a podcast editor, also a YouTube, all the sort of things that you do are then the ways that you do it, but you've drawn people in.
Yeah.
And I think what you'll see will happen is people are always resistant to niche because they're worried that they're going to turn down potential business and, oh my God, it's going to be too small. What's going to happen is it's going to make you seem the perfect fit for those people. And that person's going to go, oh yeah, I don't want the person that'll just edit any podcast. I want the person that specializes in that. And then when you play that out, once you have that clarity, you start to think about all your content. And now all your content, even if you're talking about the importance of story and crafting stories and editing and whatever, it's all for businesses. So if you were to write a blog post or newsletter or whatever, you're not just writing the sort of generic, here are the biggest mistakes that people make in editing. It's here are the biggest mistakes business podcasts make in edit. So the people that are going to read that and share that are now going to be your ideal audience. You don't have that ideal audience that you're creating for, then you're just randomly getting people who are whatever. That's where I would start. You need to get clear on it. And then that becomes a filter for everything, right? Then you look at your website and you go, is my website speaking to this specific thing? Is it promising this specific transformation for these specific people? The other thing I would say is I do these skill sessions, which are like 1-hour video workshops. And I did one called the Niche Definer. It's all about how to clarify your niche and message it. Okay. You and anyone who's listening can go to joshspector.com/sessions to get it. And you can even use, if you use code niche25, you can get it at a discount for just $25. I think you'll find that really helpful because I talk through a whole system that you can put yourself through to get clarity on who you want to serve and how to message it. Gotcha. Does that all make sense?
It
Questions
does.
about any of that?
No,
cool.
I can't believe I don't have that on my website. That's it. Yeah. It's so in my head and not in the, yeah.
You're not unusual. It's so common. The stuff that's obvious to us. A couple of years ago, I'm this quote unquote newsletter expert. And I looked at my newsletter sign up page and it didn't even say that what you were signing up. It didn't even say that it was a newsletter. And I was like, and I remember I tweeted something out and I was like, maybe don't listen to any of my advice. Because apparently I didn't even tell people they were signing up for a newsletter. So I was so busy and caught up in my other messaging. So the other thing I would say is, again, once you do this, like even your headline on your website, Stephanie Fuccio, curiosity and community driven podcasting and podcast editing, no
Needs
reference to business.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And I think the key is, and this again is so common, right? All of the sort of stuff you're doing is it's the way you accomplish the thing that you're helping them accomplish. So people tend to lead with, I talk about this all the time with like coaches or courses or whatever, where they come up with some clever name. So they're like, learn my 5 P's pyramid system. And it's like, nobody is out there looking for the 5 P's pyramid system. They're looking for, how do I get more sales? How do I get more clients? How do I become a better writer? How do I whatever? And your clever sister service that you offer is that. So you want your messaging to lead with the thing that people are out there saying that they want, and then go, you want this, here's how I can help you get it. I've come up with this unique system. I'm using this as a random example, but that's where you can go, you want more sales. I've come up with a system to help you get more sales. The headline should be about helping people get more sales, not learn the 5 Ps pyramid. That's like people use their language. So in your example, no one's out there going, I'm looking for a curiosity and communication driven or community driven podcasting, right?
Yeah.
They're like, I'm doing this podcast because I want X. And a big part of it is I want people to listen to it, whatever it is, like, you know what those goals are for people. And I would also even ask your clients, which I'm sure you do, but like, very specifically, like, why are you doing this podcast in the first place? What do you want out of it? And then they'll tell you, you pay attention to the words they use and their language, and then you can use that in your own, now I'm quite literally speaking their language. Cool?
Yeah.
So all you got to do is sit down with a blank slate and rethink everything you're doing, and you'll be totally...
Everything.
It's all, what's funny, you're able to talk about it. It's all in there. It's just taking it out of your head and making it clear to other people.
Yeah.
Cool.